Game week is finally here for OU softball. All is right in the world once again. OU opens the season with a road game at Arizona State on Thursday night, then 3 games at 17th ranked Arizona in Tucson over the weekend. And there's a lot that I'm anxious to see, but more than anything, I'm really interested in how sharp this team looks right out of the gate, especially in the circle. And that's where I want to start. Storylines, a best guess as to what the opening day lineup is going to look like, and a short preview on Arizona and Arizona State. We'll do all that. As always, drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's start with the storylines, and let's start with pitching, because that's my number one storyline of the weekend. I care about the results this week. I'm just not going to overreact to them. I'm much more interested in really how the pitching staff is used. I'm curious how many different pitchers we see start games. Now, my guess is probably 3. Wouldn't be surprised if it's 4, but I do think that number alone is going to tell us something. Beyond that, I'm watching who gets innings and when they get innings. Who's going to get the ball in tight spots this week? And if someone runs into trouble, who do they turn to in the circle? This is a really good early test for these pitchers. Road games, quality lineups, there's going to be some pressure right away. And I think ultimately that's a very good thing for this pitching staff to see how they handle it. And when talking about the personnel, I think it starts with Sydney Berzon this weekend. How sharp does she look coming off of that injury a year ago? Is she ready to have her best season of college softball? Now, this weekend isn't going to tell that full story just yet, but a strong start could really matter for her. Confidence matters early, even for a pitcher with as much experience as she has. A good opening weekend, I think, could really help propel Sydney Berzon forward this early in the year into having her best season of college softball yet. I'm also really interested in Audrey Lowry. Patty Gasso has talked more positively about Audrey Lowry than I think any other pitcher on the roster. And after a year where she dealt with an injury, I think a hot start could really propel her forward as well. Again, I think a lot like with Sydney Berzon coming off of an injury, early confidence could be very key for Audrey Lowry as well. And I can't wait to see Miley Wacheno. I think she's going to rack up strikeouts. That's who she is as a pitcher. The question is whether she comes out already hitting her stride the way that Patty says she is. Very excited to see 99 in the circle doing her thing. I think she's going to be fun to watch. And then, of course, there's KD. Would not be surprised at all if KD were to get a start. Heck, maybe she even starts the season opener. In the fall, I thought she was OU's best pitcher. She kept the ball down, and she did a really good job of getting on top of hitters in the counts. I'm curious whether that consistency carries over right away throughout the course of the weekend. And just overall as a group, I want to see these pitchers control counts. I want to see them throw early strikes, throw multiple pitches for strikes consistently. I just want to see them look sharp. I'm not expecting perfection, but I want to see them look very sharp in the circle. And I think if that shows up, they'll be more than fine this weekend against 2 good teams. Another big storyline for me is the freshmen. And I think it really starts with Kendall Wells. She was OU's best hitter in the fall. And Patty Gasso hasn't exactly been subtle when talking about what Kendall Wells could be this year and throughout the rest of her OU career. She's very excited, just like the rest of us. She's talked about Kendall Wells a lot. Now, the question becomes, does that translate immediately? Because this is a big opportunity for Kendall Wells. If she comes out hot, this is the kind of weekend where she can, even as a true freshman, announce her presence to the rest of the softball world. But I'm excited to see that bat. I'm excited to see all that power. I'm also really excited to see what she looks like behind the plate defensively. Receiving the ball, what the arm looks like as well, just the total package with Kendall Wells, I'm very, very excited to see. I'm also very interested in Kai Minor as well. I think there's a chance that she starts all 4 games, and maybe even all 4 games in center field, and just excited to see what she looks like in her first real action as a Sooner. Does she look comfortable? Does the moment early on feel too big? Or does she just look like she belongs? I would tend to go with the latter. I think she's going to look like she belongs, And I think she's going to do some very fun things with all that speed, both defensively and at the plate as well. Also, can't wait to see Lexi McDaniel, where she plays, see that bat, all that power. Alyssa Parker, I hope that we see her in the circle and defensively as well at the plate. And Berkeley Zakay, interested to see her and excited to watch her do her thing in the circle as well. All these freshmen with their first real opportunities, you're not looking for perfection. You're just interested to see how they come out and compete and how they're used throughout the course of the week. Hey, real quick, please like the video if you haven't already and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any free OU softball content on the channel this season. And real quick here, this is just for fun, and this is knowing how much these lineups are going to change early. Game 1's lineup won't look like Game 2. Here's my fun guess at an opening day lineup for OU. I'll go with Cassidy Pickering leading off and playing right field, Ella Parker hitting second as the DP, Gabby Garcia at short batting third, Nelly at third base hitting cleanup, Kendall Wells at catcher batting fifth, Sid Barker at first hitting sixth, Agbayani at second hitting seventh, Abby Dayton in left field hitting eighth, and Kai Minor hitting ninth. In the circle, let's go with Sydney Berzon as the starter to begin the 2026 season. Again, it's just a guess, just a fun guess. I don't expect it to be 100% right. It could be off terribly, but still fun to do. Drop your projected lineup in the comments. All right, storyline number 3. How sharp does this team look? This is a bigger picture one for me. Now, it's a long season, and nobody should panic if everything isn't perfect the first week of the season. But Patty Gasso did say this might be the most prepared team she's had entering the season in a while, and that naturally raises the question, does that show up right away? I'm curious about the level of softball this team plays right out of the gate. I want to see clean defense. I want to see no base running mistakes. I want to see this team do the little things that great teams do. And I want to see them show composure in what will be hostile atmospheres. This team is very young in terms of their classification, but there's not very many young players in terms of their experience because a lot of them had so many big game moments last year. But yeah, I want to see all that power this offense has at the plate. I want to see how strong they are defensively, all the fun things that will show up in a stat sheet. But also, will they come up with the big hit in a tight spot? Will they get that big pitch to get out of a jam? Will they make the inning-ending double play to get out of an inning? That's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see all of it. Let's get to opponent previews. Let's start with Arizona State, your first opponent of the season. This is a really solid opening test, especially on the road. And you're almost certainly going to see Kinsey Brown in the circle for ASU. She was an All-American last season, ranked as the number 20 overall player in college softball by Softball America, and she actually even previously pitched at Tulsa. She's a really good arm. ASU also has Tiare Ho-Ching, who's a very good player, and there's a cool connection there with her sister Kiele Ho-Ching, committed to OU. Softball America projects Arizona State as a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. So this isn't just easing into a season. This is a team that has a chance to do some fun things in the postseason, at least what people kind of project them as of right now. OU will open the season Thursday night at Arizona State, 7:15 on ESPN+. How about Arizona? One of the Blue Bloods, OU Arizona, a blue blood matchup in the world of college softball. They've got multiple top 100 players in the country, according to Softball America. Reagan Shockey, Serenity Trice, Jalen Adams in the circle. They also added Tele Jennings as a transfer from San Diego, the younger sister of, yeah, you guessed it, Tiare Jennings. So that's going to be a pretty cool reunion this weekend. Like Arizona State, Arizona is projected as a 2 seed. And this is a good, experienced group that is really going to test you, not just talent-wise, but execution-wise. Top 20 team, they're a good team. And with OU coming to town for a 3-game set, they'll be ready, and they're going to bring good softball. And one last thing before this weekend starts, because this actually explains why OU is playing Arizona 3 times. Patty explained it really clearly on Friday on the Plank Show on the Ref. Why we got OU Arizona 3 times.
Short story, actually. So Howard was listed as the first weekend, and I called, and they pulled that. And I know the coach there. I'm like, what happened? She's like, I never scheduled it for the first weekend. I'm scheduled to go there on the 3rd weekend. So then Utah Valley or Utah State was the other team. Was like, well, if you're not playing, we're not playing. We're not going to be here and just play Oklahoma and Arizona. So they dropped out. And that's sad because I always tell the story of how I learned to be successful or what I needed to do. We got our clocks cleaned at Arizona my first year here. We played them, I think, 7 times, and they absolutely annihilated us. And humbly, I sat in the dugout and I looked over at Mike Candrea's team. I'm like, those are women. Those are women. And I've got girls. I've got to go out and look for women. And sometimes and I'm not saying that would happen to those teams, that we would do that, like beat them in that way. But when you play teams that are ranked high, you learn a lot. You might take the loss, but it's going to turn into a win later. And sometimes I think our sport does not embrace that very well.
A criticism of OU last year is that they didn't play a tough non-conference schedule. That's not the case this year. It's tough, and it's tough right out of the gate. And I got to tell you, I can't wait, and I think that this team is absolutely ready for the challenge. At Arizona State, hostile crowd. At Arizona for 3 games in a hostile crowd. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I think that this team is ready for the competition. I think they're ready for those real situations. I think they're ready to get this season started just like the rest of us. Hey, please like the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. How jacked are you for the start of the college softball season, the start of the Sooners? Let me know in the comments, and as always, guys, thank you for watching.